wonderful souls out there. I hope you were out in nature somewhere today. Starlight was, but most of the day it rained. It rained all night. It rained in the morning, and then it stopped, and then it rained again, and now it's not raining. But I was out. So anyway, thank you to all of you who have been here, loving and supporting Starlight. If you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you can give my videos a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you can share my videos with your family, your friends. Some doves. I've been seeing a lot of doves where I am. And let me see, doves. And we're going to say kangaroo. Starlight, you saw a kangaroo? No, but we're just going to say kangaroo. And also, if you want to reach out to me and say hello, leave me a comment down below, and you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, anyone that would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping! There it is. And so, okay, now today is about, hang on, Starlight has got it. Don't believe all your thoughts. I gotta look that up. I had the title, and then I see things, and I'm like, oh, don't believe everything you think. Don't believe everything you think. You know, imagine that. Don't believe everything you think. Isn't that kind of scary? You know, I saw that on somebody's car yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write that down. I love that. You know, don't believe everything you think. And it's kind of goes, you know, don't believe everything you hear, you know, but don't believe everything you think. Don't we think a lot of stuff throughout the day? You know, how many things do you think about in one day? You know, and I believe I've been getting better at that. You know, before I used to have so much thoughts, I don't even think I had any, you know, but, and it was a lot of negative stuff way back then. Now I'm, you know, doing a whole lot better with that, because I do the I am affirmations, thinking positive, replacing those negative thoughts. But don't believe everything you think. And there's a whole lot of things that we think about, like thinking that you can't do that, you know, I want to do this, but, you know, I'm not going to go for that job because I don't think I'm going to get it. I'm not going to go and ask her out because I don't think she's going to want to go out with me. It's not Starlight. Okay, let me do that a little different, because Starlight is definitely not into chicks. Okay, we'll do that over. Retake. So I'm not going to ask him out. He's not going to want anything to do with me. That I feel better about that now. I get a laugh out loud moment, you know. And there's so many things that we're not even aware of what we're thinking. And I get reminders from the universe, from the archangels, by receiving messages through angel numbers, or, you know, they're angel numbers. But some people think that's, you know, crazy stuff. But everybody, see, don't believe everything you think. So yes, don't believe everything you think. You know, like, and a lot of times we're affected by people around us, you know, by what they think. You know, now how do they think, you know? What do they think about their own life? And now they're going to put their, you know, opinions on you and make you think like them. You might believe in yourself, and somebody might not believe in themselves, and they put their thoughts in your head and your mind and your headspace, and now you might not believe in yourself because, if you're hanging out with the wrong kind of people, that's the kind of energy you're going to pick up from them. I know we all have been around somebody, or you might be that person that I'm talking to is, have you ever been around somebody that everything that they say is negative? It's horrible, I actually recently, met a new girl in this area out somewhere where I am, and a lot of people want to talk about her and, without even getting to know her. And I've been around her a little bit, getting to know her, and I'm like, she's quite positive, actually. We got to really be careful of how we perceive people out in public, just because they might be doing something that you might not understand is be careful, don't believe everything you think and don't believe everything you hear from other people. Just because somebody comes to you and says something, negative about somebody, it don't mean that what that person is saying is actually correct. So you got to believe that. You got to be careful what you believe when you hear it from other people, and what they think. And, it's really best to really go find out yourself and say, is that true about that person? Be careful of what you believe from people, what they spread, about other people. Take some time to get to really know people instead of just hearing what other people say or what they might think, because they get, what? If you take the time to find out, you might find out they're pretty smart. Wouldn't that be something? You might find out that, they're sweet. They got, they don't bring up negative stuff like talking bad about people. You might think, why would that person come to me and say this stuff about this person? They didn't even, So you really got to be careful of not only what you think, be careful what you think, what other people think. So, you might have dreams and goals that you want to set for your future, but you might not think that you're going to be able to do it. You got to keep on believing in yourself no matter what. And I'll tell you what, things do take time. Life happens sometimes. You could be working on something. This comes, in your life, and that comes, this problem here, this over here. But stay focused, and don't believe everything you think, thinking that you'll never be able to accomplish whatever it is that you're working on. I'll never get all this done. Well, you know what? Words are very powerful. You got to be careful what you think and what you tell yourself, and what you say to other people, because you are manifesting your own, you're creating your own reality. You're going to manifest what you're talking about. If you're thinking negative, and thinking that will never happen for me, I will never be able to do this, I meet people, and I just talked to a young boy. I say a boy because he is a boy to me. 28 years old, because my kids are older than him. So yeah, I call my kids, they're adults, but I call him a kid because he's a kid. But it's so sad, there's people that get mixed up in some bad stuff out there, people go through some hard times in life, and a lot of times people turn to alcohol or drugs, or even other things, gambling, all kinds of stuff, spending extra money on what they don't have, buying stuff that they don't even have the money to buy these things, and buying things to just impress other people. There's all different kinds of ways that people actually try to escape from really facing really what they're dealing with emotionally and mentally, and it ends up sometimes being physically, because they're trying to escape, like doing drugs or gambling. I don't want to even go off on that rabbit trail because it is sad no matter how you want to look at it. an addiction of going out and spending money all the time, just going out and going out and going out, not really dealing with the problem that you really have within inside of you. And kind of like what the doctors do all the time with us is always giving us medication, which is not taking care of the problem. It's actually making more problems. So, and that could even be the same with people that are trying to escape. So there's people that might think that I want to get out of this situation. Like I met this young boy, and it's the things I witness, it's heartbreaking, a young boy, being around the wrong kind of people, and having alcohol problems, So I was able to help him out one night because he was looking for food, and I was like, there's that guy, I've talked to him before, and I've seen him here and there, and there he is, he's looking in the garbage can, which, hey, that's, I even do that. I'll look at, hey, what's in that garbage can? Hey, I can use that. I'll take that thing right out, So, but there's people that will grab, I actually leave all my water bottles and I put them in the park in the garbage cans. So then the people that are going around and they're trying to get the 5 cents out there to get some money, and, I purposely put that out there for them to find it, but he wasn't out there looking for, stuff or bottles. He was looking for food. And Sterling's like, everything happens for a reason, no accidents or coincidences. Even though my day, my routine was off, it really wasn't, because everything that was meant to happen was meant to happen. I ended up being at the right place at the right time, witnessing this man, and I didn't know that he had problems. I didn't know, but he probably thinks that, he'll never be able to get out of where he is right now. He misses his family, and they don't want, ever since he started drinking and stuff and being around the wrong crowd, is, he wants to go back with his family, but, he wants to do this and that. So Starlet was able to help him out, not just with food, and some water, but some wisdom, and, spend some time with him and let him know that he can. And I let him know it's not the alcohol, it's you. You got to be the one, you're the only one that can get yourself out of this situation that you're in. But you got to believe in yourself that you can do this. A lot of people want to put the power on the alcohol or the drugs and thinking, hey, I'll never get out of this. So I had to go on this journey where God brought me to meet different people in different situations and ask them questions so I can help this young boy. He wants to get out of the situation. So, but he probably thinks that, what, it ain't going to happen. It's too much for me. And that's a mindset. So whatever you're struggling with in life right now, a lot of people are going through a lot of things right now. And these are the end times, and this is the spiritual warfare that we're in, and that's what I was explaining to this young boy, is that, it's a tug of war. He wants to be free, but the alcohol, the people connected to the, I said, number one, you got to avoid those kind of people that are drinking alcohol. You got to stop going to those people, and that's what people will do, is they'll go and look for people that drink to get more, so you got to be careful out there, is, whatever you're going through, is whatever you're thinking, if it's negative, if you're thinking great things, hey, that's great. But don't believe all your, what you think, because you might think that I'm never going to get out of this mess. I'm never going to get out of this situation. How am I ever going to get out of this abusive relationship, a toxic relationship? And you got to believe in yourself that you can get out of whatever your, situation that you're in that you don't want. But you got to be determined, you got to be focused. And, like I told that kid, when you get sick and tired, you'll do something. You will make that jump. You'll do whatever it takes. It's not the alcohol that's got the power over that boy. He's got to realize that he's the one. He's got to take his power back and, make the right kind of decisions, the right kind of choices, So I believe he does live on the street, because why would he be going in the garbage can? So even if you want to better yourself and you're thinking, I'll never be able to do that, that's why the I am affirmations are so important, and I do those every morning. It's amazing. I feel start my morning off in a great way, and that is what you need to do. And that's the homework assignment I had for my, client out here, is to say, hey, you know what? You got some homework. Huh? You got some homework? Yeah. And she loved it. She was excited to get homework. I said, do 10 I am affirmations, say them out loud, express them. And we sat there, doing some I am affirmations together, and like I said, you got to feel them. You got to say them out loud. Believe these I am affirmations. And also do some I am great, do 5 things that, write things down, or even say, I am grateful for, what are the 5 things that you're grateful for? You can change your way around, your life around, by believing in yourself. But on that note, you got to really be careful of the kind of people you spend time with. If you're around people that doubt in themselves, maybe even don't believe in themselves, or doubt that you can ever do anything, and those are the people that you got to really watch out for, because they can pull you away from you really getting those things that you desire, or even getting off your feet. And what I was learning is it's best not to tell anybody what you're gonna go do, because a lot of times people might not want you to do that. But don't believe all your what you think, because we've been told a lot of lies throughout history. Hang on, Starlight's got a scoop. We've been lied to throughout, our ancestors been lied to, we've been lied to, and so you got to really be careful what you think. What you think might be a lie. Imagine that, you're living off, we all been there, no matter who you are, we all been there. You might be there right now. There might be things that you were told that you thought was true, and now you're thinking that that is true, but it's a stumbling block for you, And that is what you got to watch out for. What is it that you think? Because not everything that you think is not the absolute. You might even think of something about somebody out in you might think that somebody's mad at you and upset because they looked a certain way in the store, or went out in public, and somebody looked at you, and you might think that, they don't like me. So every time you see them out in town, or somebody where, you might think, that person's got some kind of problem with me. This recently happened to me not too long ago, not to me, but, it's kind of weird, is, we're always thinking about stuff and going to places, and, you can't really pay attention to the outward appearance, the way people look, because you don't know what they're going through. We're always being tested, even with what we think, like, what do we think? What do you think? Do you ever, have you ever been wrong thinking that, somebody had beef with you and you found out, no, their face was just looking that way, and you just happened to look at the time, There was a day that I seen a man that I don't know him, but I know of him, in this area, and he didn't know. I went in the store, and I was a walking dead zombie that day because I was sick. All I wanted to do was get in there, and I don't even know what I did, but I was a zombie that day. I know it wasn't coffee. I couldn't even drink coffee during that time, but it might have had to use the bathroom. And then I was just like, I seen him, and I just like, I had to get out, so I didn't want to be around anybody. But he could have thought, what's her problem? What is, we cause a lot of problems in our own life because of what we think. You know, this happens to me a lot. You know, there's a special someone out there, you know, and it's like, you know, are you mad at me? No, why am I mad? You know, no, I'm not mad at you. Well, why do you think I'm mad at you? You know? So you really, you know, you got to be careful what you think, because your thoughts, you might think, are all your own, but they're not. So we have to be mindful of, well, actually not mindful, that's the problem. We got too many things in our head, you know? So, and this is something I am still working on. I am still working on this, but I'm helping you out with, be careful, you know, believe in yourself. And that is where I am, you know, I'm working on so many things, you know. It doesn't matter what other people, you might think that you know what they think, but you don't really know, you know. We think we got it all figured out, you know. I know what that you know, we all do it at certain times, you know. You know, at work, you might think, it's like, you might think everybody's talking about you at work. Well, maybe they are. But what if they're talking a lot of good stuff about you? Imagine that. You get the feeling that they're talking about you. And then you start feeling guilty about stuff. But then you're like, why am I feeling guilty? I haven't done anything wrong. So why would they be talking anything? Does it even matter if they were talking about you? But it doesn't necessarily mean that they were talking bad. It's crazy. You know, you might call somebody up and they might not answer the phone. And then you're waiting all day for them to call you back. But the phone doesn't ring. They don't even text you. You might think, oh, what did I do? What did I do to them? How come they're not calling me up? It happens. I called somebody not too long ago and still they haven't called me back. I called this other person up, you know, and I think they're mad at me, right? I think they're mad at me. Well, you know what? Sometimes there might be somebody really, really seriously mad at you and they are avoiding you. But there's a lot of times what we think is not real, and it's not even, you know, hello, raise your hands. Oh, a bunch of hands. Holy cow. You know, and that is why even this is a huge problem with people out in public. I surprise people all the time. I make people feel like sunshine, you know, and it is so good to do this, and it makes not only me feel good, it makes the person feel good. Not only it makes the person feel good, it makes me feel good, no matter how you look at it. But because society, it's still going on these days, not as bad as what it was, but it still can happen, is race is an illusion. But even going out in public, you know, is, you know, giving eye contact to other people of other skin color, where you might, you know, people get offended easily when it comes to out in public. And you got to really be careful with that. Just because somebody doesn't do something, doesn't look at you, or doesn't wave at you. There's times that I've actually said, hey, have a great day, you know. And then they didn't even respond, react, and boom, what am I thinking now? What am I thinking? What do you think I'm thinking? They don't like me because I'm white? Well, of course I couldn't say that I'm, you know, of color, but I'm just saying somebody of color could be like, oh, what is it, I'm not good enough? But what if they didn't even hear you? Because I have done this many times and I'm thinking, no flinching, no nothing, no body, you know, and my timing was a little off. I know I was just kind of, you know, just a little off. I wasn't quick enough, or maybe I was too slow at really wanting to say something to get their attention, and they turn at the wrong time, and it is possible they didn't even hear what I said. So do I have to think that they're treating me like shit because they didn't respond or say anything? So be careful what you think, because a lot of times we can be wrong at what we're thinking up here. And we can build up such a nasty mess about people thinking, and just add it on top of the pile and add it. And before you know it, you made this person look like a big ass monster, when reality, most of the time, 75 or even like 95% of those thoughts that you thought about that person was wrong. You never had any proof about anything. It was just your thought. You were just thinking that that's what it was. So you really got to be careful. Don't believe all your, what you're thinking, because even the lies that we've been told, you've been programmed to believe what you think. Just because your parents told you what they have been taught doesn't mean it's true, because they were lied to. Even though, even at the church, we've been lied to at the church, deceived at the church, deceived here, deceived, people lying. So be careful what you think. Don't believe everything that you think, because I had to, there's still stuff that I have to let go of, because it's old programs and, so many lies that we've been told, so I really hope you get a lot of help from this video. So be careful what you think about Starlight. It's not true, There's been people on my YouTube channel, bam, and I'm like, wait a minute, you just jumped on this one video and you're judging me and you don't even know who I am? You gotta stick around longer to find out really who I am. Just because I said something and you don't even know the story from the beginning all the way to this point. And I can't explain everything. The videos would be like hours long if I had to tell my whole story in every video to get everybody, it's like jumping in the middle of a book, not knowing, or even jumping in the middle of a movie, not knowing. And that's why Starlight does not like jumping in the middle of a movie. Absolutely not. It's hard to jump in the middle of a movie unless you already watched it before to figure out what happened, what is going on, how come they're doing this and that. But there's a lot of people that do this to, people. They don't know their past. They don't know nothing about them, and they just assume. And I am guilty of that. I am put my hand, yes, we all are guilty of that at times, not really understanding people. So don't believe everything you think. Anyway, I love you. I hope you get a lot of help from this video. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.